first presenter is Muzaky from the University of Manchester, who's talking about institutional pathways for subnational government access to transnational green infrastructure finance.
Right. Thank you everyone. My name is Taufiq Firdaus Muzaky. You can call me Zaki. I'm a first year of PGR student from the University of Manchester. I also work as a civil servant in Indonesia under West Java Provincial Government under Foreign Cooperation Partnership. So today I would like to present about institutional pathways for subnational government to access transnational climate financing. So let me begin from overview of introduction. So first I would like to put the transnational climate financing into transnational problems where the climate financing itself has further challenge how to convert it into public service, especially under the infrastructure. So the figure from the right, you can see together that from the OECD and UCLG that reflecting the share proportion of public expenditures mostly are under subnational government. So it reflects how important is subnational government. And moving further, there are very huge gap of transnational climate financing, especially for the cities. From the CCFLA data so far in 2024, city estimated to require 4.3 trillion annually to achieve the climate decarbonization target by 2030. Meanwhile, at the same time, in 2021 until 2022, there's only reached around 840 billion. So very huge gap. And one of the sectors is transportation. That's why it also motivates my case studies for discussing further. So I would like to say there is kind of a subnational paradox where the subnational government play important things for delivering the public sectors, especially for climate financing, but at the same time, there are very strict or limited access for the climate financing itself. And the governance structure, whether it is federal or unitary, also shape the capacity for it. So I would like to move from the gap of financing to the capacity problem. So what kind of the capacity? Because the capacity become important because through the capacity, the subnational government can have a trust from national level or even from the international level. So I would like to move from the gap into the fragmented literatures that so far motivates me to propose the missing construct. So mostly it is motivated by four different concepts that still missing or underexplored. For instance, under the climate financing, there are mostly explained the financial instrument, aggregates mechanism specific. Or under the parallel diplomacy literatures, they are mostly talking about how subnational government make engagement with international entities, but sometimes there are less discussion about how can it mobilize climate financing into more feasible pathways. So from those literature stream, substantive and interesting missing construct, that's why I would like to propose subnational financial capacity to be discussed further in these studies. So the research objective for this study is to develop and empirically interrogate the conceptual framework to explain how subnational government access transnational climate financing, especially under para-diplomacy and multi-level governance context. And it is also then motivate the central research question, how subnational government develop and exercise financial capacity to engage with transnational climate financing for green infrastructure within multi-level governance and para-diplomatic context. That also I would like to drive into four different sub-questions from financial capacity, multi-level governance until the cross-case comparative contribution. Like I mentioned before, the pace of integrative review. So this is not a systematic review or meta-analysis. This is integrative review because I realized that the climate financing is very dynamic. It really depends on global escalation, global influx, etc., etc. So I like to combine three different corpus. The corpus A, mostly from the Scopus and also Web of Science. Corpus B from gray literatures like World Bank Report, etc., etc. And the corpus C is supplementary. And three corpus has the different purposes. Like corpus B primarily function for a policy context, and the corpus A for academic mapping and a gap what existing literature talking about. My overall research, actually, because this is part of the early stage of this research, is more critical realism. and understand that the presence of capacities cannot directly observable, and I also follow the abductive reasoning. So I would like to propose the framework first, then I would like to examine it empirically by careful examination further for my data collection for more specifically. So this is my conceptual framework that I proposed so far. You can see together, there is a transactional climate finance mechanism that will be the output that intention to be accessed by subnational government. And we can see together there are potential two pathways. The first is potential direct pathways, but it is more relational enabling condition on the right one. And the left one, there is a potential indirect or institutional enabling condition under the Paralel diplomacy. So the two pathways can be closely explained more by the Paralel diplomacy for indirect relational and multi-level governance for Paralel diplomacy for direct relational and multi-level governance for indirect institutional. And as a core phenomenon that would like to be kind of conversional concept, there are subnational financial capacity that I propose in these studies that will be described and explained further on the next slide. But then the outcome for the mobilization of transnational climate financing will be converted into a green infrastructure project that I mentioned before to be one of the selected case studies. The sixth professional dimension that I propose as part of subnational financial capacity, there is organizational and human resources learning capacity, fiscal and budgetary capacity, fiduciary credibility capacity, project preparation capacity, intermediation capacity, and delivery and accountability capacity. So far from the literature map, I found that almost entire the capacity plays very crucial, significant roles, even though they have different levels. But mostly, for instance, any kind of financing mechanism require highly on fiduciary credibility and also delivery accountability. But again, this is very initial step, need to be verified by empirical findings later on. Yeah, I then move to the case studies that I like to propose so far. I would like to propose the case studies from Indonesia. The Indonesian regulatory architecture so far make a design that the subnational government actually cannot directly access the global financing directly for using under the management of the subnational government. There are at least 9 of regulatory architectures to be designed, but I also categorize it into 5 classification. Mostly are under nationally mediated public finance, and also subnational cooperation, project preparation, private project finance, until capital market pathways. But all of this policy design mostly creates the ecosystem that subnational government cannot directly access the transnational climate financing. Even for the grants or ODS itself, it needs to be under central government gatekeeping or approval. So, for more specifically, I would like to choose the case studies in terms of bus rapid transit in Indonesia. Initially, the bus rapid transit in Indonesia was developed in 2007 in Jakarta and already successfully electrifies now. So it also contribute for decarbonization scheme in Jakarta. But now, national government in Indonesia try to disseminate it into different cities, especially for high populated cities. And one of the cities to be targeted now is Bandung, under West Java province. As information, West Java has a very huge population. There's the most populous province in Indonesia. It has a 50 million population. So it's very dense population in West Java. And 60% of Indonesian population now living in urban area. This is why the green mobilization in urban area become very significant things to be examined further, apart from the transportation area that I mentioned before. And also, one interesting thing, apart from the national program to be replicated to other cities, the story of BRT itself has para-diplomatic stories that may be interesting to be examined further because it aligns with the framework that I proposed before. Between West Java and also one of the province in South Korea, there is Chungcheongnam-do, has a sister province partnership since 2021. And very interestingly, there is motivates the ODA mobilization from Korea to Indonesia. So the picture here represent the consistency of governor leadership commitment to continue, even though there has been two different governors in West Java, but still continuing the commitment for climate finance mobilization. So I would like to classify it into several stages from a process tracing mechanism. But again, this is very initial step because I'm still using a document analysis and also historical evidence only. I need to verify it into narrative and also observation. But overall, I classified it into a 5 to 6 scheme. The first relational foundation that, like I mentioned before, the MOU between sister province of West Java and Chungcheongnam-do signed in 2021 become their initial step for them to propose the ODA mobilization from Korea. They're specifically to finance the BRT corridors in Bandung region. And then they are together creates the document planning together to be proposed to the central government in Korea as the step number 2 to become the project formulation. And then number 3, based on that, the commitment between two provinces and also project preparation they proposed to the national government in Korea, they are encouraged and try to make a negotiation for the ODA itself to be allocated specifically to West Java. Finally, in 2024, takes very long time, the MOU between two nations signed especially for ODA mobilization, and specifically it is distributed for financing the BRT project. You can imagine that actually national government has their own authority to distribute the ODA itself to any kind of province or subnational government, but motivated by this sister province mechanism, they are decided to be allocated for West Java. And also technical structuring, after designing the MOU, they are continuous to improve the capacity for local government in West Java for preparing the project and also technical capacities and including for maintaining the BRT itself. And finally, this is still continue, but again, the further examination by interview and also observation still need to be followed up. So this kind of illustrative early findings, of course, to be shared to you. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. We have a few minutes for questions, so if you want to ask any questions, please do. Okay.
I have a minor question because if you show the thing with the buses,
Yeah.
you say it's a highly populated area.
Yeah.
But was there a decision between buses and some rail systems? Because often if it's a high population density, also rails make sense for energy reasons.
Rail system, okay, rail system. Okay, the bus is piloting from Jakarta case, and from Jakarta case, actually either bus and also the rail system already integrated so far. It reached not only Jakarta city, but it already reached the peripheral city, the suburban cities in Jakarta metropolitan. So they already interconnected. Either using BRT or monorail and also MRT, most of them already connected using a single ticket system. But now in Bandung Metropolitan, so far still rely on the bus system, but it's not really interconnected. But now they have a plan to be interconnected, especially electrification, because we have a target for decarbonization to be under subnational government target, the same with a national level target. So that is part of decarbonization as well.
Was there any good practices or best practices that the Indonesian government looked at. I'm just thinking about some cities such as Bogota in Colombia,
Yeah.
where they made the decision to get rid of the rail. And so it's a really fascinating approach.
Yeah.
And they move a huge number of people
Mhm.
in the barrios into the center part of town.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that was focused on sustainable development goals or green targets or what have you, but in terms of efficiency. So were there other cities that they wanted to emulate?
For Indonesia, I guess because the pioneer is Jakarta, I guess Jakarta become the potential candidate to be studied further. The unique things that the Jakarta BRT system initially was not really electrified and still emitting pollution, etc. But now has a gradually electrified, so become more decarbonized. But the challenge for Jakarta also very complicated because they were not built from the beginning. The landscape of the cities was not really planned, but now they realize to be interconnected each other. But a very strong commitment of leadership, especially for Jakarta, is under the capital city of Indonesia. The central government put lots of the project and support a lot for the Jakarta. But the challenge is how about the non-capital cities, which has a very huge population as well, like the Bandung area. Bandung area has very huge population around, and the potential for movement is also not really far from Jakarta. That's why the challenge is very different, because it's not part of the capital. The support of the central government maybe have different scale from the capital cities. Yeah. That's why the capacity of national government is very important to be examined further for accessing climate finance, rather than relying only on the central government.
Yeah, that's such an important thesis right now, because I'm one of the editors of the Cambridge Journal of Regions, Economy and Society. We have a special issue coming out on cities and climate change.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of cities are the agents of making the changes, because they're the ones that are dealing with all the issues. And I thought you did a really good job of explaining the capacity challenges.
Yes,
so
true.
you're saying that Bandung isn't getting the same advantages as other places because of the national government isn't paying attention. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah.
Yes. Actually, there are at least two aspects that need to be considered. The first, in global South context, that the subnational government mostly rely on the capacity of central government. Then second one, the structure of the governance itself, especially in Indonesia, is more centralized. It's not federal governance. So everything must be under central government approval. So sometimes it creates the ecosystem for over-reliance to central government. So the capacity of subnational government is not really evolved. So you can imagine. But the demand for creating the infrastructures for the public become increasing, especially for the number of population now living 60% living in the urban area. It's not longer in the village. The mobilization is very priority issues for providing the infrastructure.
And I think that was, back to the Bogota example, I think that was one of the things that they identified was the economic argument of moving people into the central area so they could get jobs and so on and moving back.
True.
And of course they had the challenge, just like in some of our, in our country, for example, where you've got municipal, then you have provincial, and then you have the national governments, and they often don't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
And there's favoritism, obviously, and every 4 years there's a change of government.
Yes,
right?
true.
So you've got those political challenges.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why.
Well, maybe we'll stop there for now, and if we have time at the end, we can continue.
Yes,
this great
sure,
conversation.
sure.
But thank you for this great
Thank you.
presentation. Yes.
Thank you so much for your comment and the opportunity.
So why don't we move